Alrighty, got my coffee. Took a little break there. So let's get back to it. Seems like the landscapers have decided to start making a bunch of noise, mowing and tree shredders and whatnot. So if you are picking up any of that, apologies, but hey, it's got to be done. Flavor country. Okay, so now that we got rid of that brace, we need to just sort of add a cleco hole for gluing this down, right? So I'm just going to grab these guys here, and then I'm going to hit horizontal center right there on rectangular. And then I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this guy and then make him even with him. There you go. All right, so that kind of takes care of that. Yeah, so I think it's time, just kind of taking a look. Yeah, I think it's time to start breaking out parts, and we're going to start making the parts that we are going to send to route. So, because we have our top view here, and we don't have that anymore. See, we got rid of that brace, so I don't need this brace. That's no longer there. But I do need, yeah, so this tab goes on this part right here. So this guy is actually just this. We can get rid of that. So we don't really need this top view per se, but you know, we'll have it. And then these guys here, we'll start to lay these out down here. So what I kind of call this is I call it being on track. So, and that is to say sort of on track with the layout of the sign. So rather than like taking this piece and then kind of running over here like a dog with a bone and kind of hiding and dealing with it over here on its own, what I like to do is keep things on track. Maybe not even, it doesn't have to be like my nudge is 12 inches here. So I'm just going super nudge, but it's not even so important the distance down per se, but it's staying in line with this. So what we can do later is audit and chase holes using guidelines. You can take a guideline here and you can lock it into this node here, and then you can chase it up to make sure that things are lining up the way it's supposed to be, so you can double check your work kind of thing. So I call that being on track. And then depending on which way you go, like you could theoretically be on track this way, and you could take this way, but it doesn't do much good because it's hard to audit. It's like so the rule of thumb is you take the pieces, the width, if the width is this long and they're only this tall, then you probably want to go this way because you want to chase the, like where this actually lines up here. You can make sure that you're lining up here because that's more important than just the 1.5 inches this way. That's this over here can chase that, but that's not so important. So all of these like cross braces end up going this way on track down. And then I kind of split it to where like all this will go this way. But once you get like halfway on the sign, then you start to take these pieces up. So that way, like this top box will end up being like way up here, kind of broken apart, like its parts. Anyway, and then the side pieces, same thing, because they're narrow this way, but they have the length this way. There's more to track this way going that way, if that makes sense. So then like this guy will get broken out this direction. This cat will get broken out on this direction, but that's how you end up with that exploded view. But the idea of that exploded view is everything is on track with where it was. So you can throw right down dead center of this guy, and you can double check that it's going to hit the marks right across, and you know that you're on track. If it's a little bit shifted, then you're kind of messed up, and it's going to suck when they go to put it, if the holes are wrong or whatever. So being on track, I'm using finger quotes, just helps you make sure everything's lined up, make sure everything's making sense. So you just kind of work in a northeast, southwest without kind of breaking. Now, once we get later on and you're actually breaking out like these jiggies, You don't need to stay on track for those. Later on, I'll show you, like when I do the skins and things like that, you're just kind of grabbing them in bulk. And then I'll kind of run over here and kind of work in this area that's not part, it's because this will be all full of parts here. This will be full of parts here. So then I kind of work in this area for like skins and jiggies. That way I can just strip these out because these are just going to be on their own. So it doesn't really matter that they're quote unquote on track because they're just going to get put in a pile like that. And it's like, here's all your jiggies like that, right? So I'll work over here on stuff that doesn't need to be on track. Same thing with when we go to rip out these flat cutout letters, when it's time to deal with these, these guys are all still kind of, there you go, like that. When it's time to deal with these cats, are you still grouped? Yeah, these guys are still grouped. Okay, this is a good point to just ungroup everything. So that way we go. There we go. So now we can there we go. I'm trying to prove a point here. Work with me. So when it comes time to work with these, it's not that important they stay on track because we're just going to flip them over. We're going to kind of deal with them in their own way. So anyway, so you want to kind of set everything up, but that's why you can see like this part here is in line. It's all lined up to make sure. See, even though this is magenta, this magenta boy here, this 1.5 inches represents the side view of that 09C channel like that. So anyway, so yeah, keep everything lined up on track that way, but it is like the wider part or the taller part is the side that you kind of go that direction. So it makes sense, especially when the sign is a rectangle with 90-degree corners. But when things are like jaggedy, like we like to make rocks that have all these weird shape, you just kind of break them out. Those can't be on track per se. If you have something that's kind of at a weird angle, like you got some kind of rock monster we like to make, like a boulder thing, you just do your best to try to keep those shapes. Like this piece here will be like from there to there. You do the best you can, and you just kind of break it out, and you'll have to make it, 90 so you can route it so it changes from there, but you just kind of keep it in the area. But when you're actually dealing with 90-degree corner, nice square signs like this, you just kind of keep everything lined up and you work with it in a way that, keeps everything lined up so you can double check and make sure that way you just have almost 100% success rate as far as sending it to route and then everything goes together. Because you never want to get that FaceTime or that call. Hey, can I call you real quick? We got a question. It's not lining up. That's when that's when my blood runs cold. All right. So let's start breaking it out. This is fun. So let's start with the sack boy up top here. Let's just start with this box. So we're going to use Magic Machine. So if you go to Mr. Goodbar, right down here in the middle, it says Magic Machine. This macro user form, which pops up over here, is basically everything you need. This is the one. Some of this stuff has been deprecated or I've duplicated it because I used to shrink the shapes and I used to move the shapes, but jumping around back and forth on these tabs got a little tedious. So the shrink ended up just going right here onto Mr. Goodbar. So I just made a pull down window so you can see the same arrows. I mean, I literally copy pasted the arrows because I already made like the bitmap icons for them and stuff. So these letters, these arrows are actually these arrows. And then I just took the code and just added it to, and then the shrinking and then the adding actually became that. The tools though, for sure. And then extrusions, we're going to use that right now. There's a couple ways to make extrusions, but this is the easier way. Again, this right here, this got deprecated because of other ways I do it. So if I were to go through and tidy it up, it would probably be helpful. I could get rid of this long clipper stuff. The nuclear option was actually, I was trying to work on a way to push one button and it would do all of this. I mean, it's there, but some of the decisions it has to make, you have to kind of be the one to do it. But anyway, I was working on that. It's kind of fun. Anyway, so it's just this guy right here, make rectangle from, but this fill it up and CR and jiggy. This right here is what we use to do this part here. Or you can do it kind of roll your own where you just use rectangular, and I can show you that too. So, but let's do Magic Box Machine, and let's just start with this top boy here. So what I'll do is, because these are just kind of side views, The most important thing is going to be to make these parts. So I want to keep those as kind of as close for reference. So I kind of want to keep the parts as close as I can. So now that we're kind of done with these, you say, thank you. Don't get rid of anything. Just kind of scooch them out of the way. So again, I'm doing my shift, big push here. So I just kind of make some room, but I still want these for reference because we will be using, you'll see, we will use this because this has all the holes we need. We're going to use that for the extrusion piece. That way it's all laid out. Anyway, so we can kind of push this box up out of the way. And then what we're going to do is grab, don't worry about grabbing extra, but you're going to grab as much as you kind of can of just the bar, and without trying to sit there and be surgical about it and be like, oh, I'm just going to grab that and then hit plus, leave it. We're taking what we need. And then we get rid of what we don't need. So obviously this guy here, this nugget is gone. And then this guy's over here doing his thing. So we can just quickly get rid of that. Let's go ahead and hit save. And then what we want to do, if we're going to use the magic box machine here, then all we got to do is grab this, group it. So it's one piece. And then we need to know this right here, this text box is waiting for you to tell it how wide is this thing. So that's where this view comes in right here. So we know that it's 5 1/4. So if you hit X, it loads that up. So that's why it helps to have these views built out. So now it knows that this is the overall length. So this is where you were asking earlier about what's the magenta. Well, the magenta is the overall by math. Like just the overall length of this piece is magenta. It's the jiggy. But you'll see we need to adjust that because that's not the true size. So grab this, you hit X, we now have that loaded. So now, do you want this to go to the top of this thing, which is T? Do you want it to go to the bottom? Do you want it to shoot down? Or are we making left to right? So we're going to use these. This will be left to right. The pink boy's over here. But for top and bottom, do you want this to go to the top of this or to the bottom? We want it to go to the top. So you hit T, boom. So it automatically makes the rectangle that's necessary, which is ironic, is coincidentally that size. So there's 27, and you can check that by hitting this, and there's 27 so story checks out. So it automatically made that, and then it automatically duplicated this, so you don't have to do that. And then it went ahead and nested it up against. So you have this piece ready to go. So that's where I first start just going around making these pieces using this. So now we need to make this piece, but it's in the way of this piece. So this is where I was saying is like this whole thing might actually go north a little bit. So I'm going to grab this piece, and I don't care. I'm grabbing all of this. As long as I duplicate it, I'll just drag it up, and I'm just using, shift nudge or whatever. Again, being on track for distance, it helps. It's kind of cool to be able to just bring it back down. So if you want to keep it known distances, but it's okay to actually just sort of hand slide this way. It doesn't have to be an exact distance down, because technically once this is made, this doesn't really have to go back onto this. It's just once this is created, it's a little butterfly. Now it's going to fly away and do its own thing. But as long as it's on track left to right, that's the important thing. So if you do just grab a chunk of this and then hit duplicate, make sure you constrain with shift or control or whatever, and then make sure that at least you can't shift left to right. So just make sure everything's constrained. All right, so let's grab what we need here and make sure we have our blue line, make sure we have everything we need, and we'll get rid of all that here. We'll clean that up. So we'll just go ahead and nudge that up. So let's clean all this up. Thank you. Got to keep this nugget, but not that nugget. Same thing here. Get rid of that nugget. Get rid of that. Get rid of all this extra stuff. We don't need you because you're from the other guy. That's that. That's that. Now, we get rid of all this. However, let's make sure that we're leaving these rivets, because these rivet holes will translate to where we need to be, because those rivet holes are what's going to be holding this together, right? So we're using that information to transfer these holes to this piece. Now, but the problem is if you were to group this right now, and then hit bottom, which is what you want to do. You're going to send it to the bottom. It will automatically bake in that distance, and that's bad. So you got to make sure that nothing is overhanging when it comes time to do this. So I will ungroup, and then I'll just make sure that these are kind of, hey, ungroup. There you go. I'm just going to make sure that these are sort of out of the way and make sure nobody is actually making a false. And I'm going to select this, and I should see 1.5 inches up here, right? Because that's our overall. So if somebody's being silly and just poking out a tiny bit, then you should get a false. See that, the 5/3, that's bad. That's bad. We don't want that. So anyway, so we'll get those guys up out of the way. We will group and then hit this again, hit bottom, and that it sends it this way. And then we should be up against there. I'll even go ghost mode just to make sure everything looks super on the point. Good to go. Let's save. So that's the top box kind of getting laid out, and we'll literally flesh it in. And so now we'll continue on in this direction. So now we know that that's the top box. So we'll just keep going because, like I said, about halfway, we'll send these pieces up and we'll send these pieces down. So now it's time for this cat, who is his buddy. So I like to put that one close to that one because they're going to be mates forever. So you're going to get rid of everything you don't need. Again, get rid of that nugget, but keep this nugget for sure. We don't need the jiggies yet. And then this is where you can get rid of the flat cutouts. Now, if this gets a little tedious, you can grab send it. And because we named these as flat cutouts, you can just select everything and then hit F call. I have it right here. And so it's going to find those and get them out of the way. There we go. We can just get those guys out of the way. Hit that. We're going to get rid of this, but I'm going to leave these for a second. And then we don't need jiggy yet. Thank you, but we need your cleco holes. So you're out of here. We need that nugget. Actually, this nugget is the length of this cat right here. So leave that nugget, but we don't need these. We don't need these, but just like we needed the other ones, we're going to bring these rivet holes down out of the way so they don't create a false size. There you go. And now that's this piece. Now these guys sticking out this side, don't worry about that because it's going to bonk this direction, not that direction. So that should work, I think. It's been a while since I've stress tested this. So we want this to go to the top. There we go. Yeah. Now, we don't need these on the other side, so we will figure out which side is face. I think this side's face. This side's not. So we can actually get rid of this, save some route time. We can actually just we'll get rid of these once we get there. But for right now, we're leaving it. I'm going to hit save. So that's good to go. So what I like to do is just sort of put a little distance between the two because we just know that this is top box and then this is that box. Now, I don't really have a way of it knowing which one is which, but you can go ahead and continue on your coloring at this point. This doesn't matter because this is going in the trash. All of this is going in the trash except for the holes. Once, all these guide layers or guide things and all these jiggies are all going in the trash before you route. So it doesn't matter if you want to make this red to keep your color coordinating going. But once it gets to this point, I kind of know where we're at. I mean, you can tell which part this is with the measles going on. So anyway, so it's not really, so all the center rectangles will be black. But if you want to, you can go through and kind of color code like you were. So, but you can start breaking out the side ones too. You can start breaking these out, but I'm just kind of keeping the top and bottom thing going. Now, because these are like species, this guy is going to be attaching to this guy. So this is like a little pair. These are like a mated pair. So they should stay together. So this is the top of this box. But because these two are similar, I might just go ahead and make these cats go this way. So this will be like the base, and then like internal parts will come this way. And we'll leave this for the top box world. Anyway, so now in this one, it's important. It's not the end of the world because these are centered, but bring this with you as well because that lets you know. And this is going to be our lineup. This is going to be where the post goes through. So we can bring this with. We can actually just kind of get it out of the way for right this second. Oops. Hey, ungroup. What's wrong with you? There you go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and clean these up. We don't need jiggies yet. Thank you. You're good. And then same thing, group, and then we go to the top for this. But whoa, hold on. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Yeah, caught me on that one. How come you didn't say anything? We changed our size. Duh. 4 1/4. So that guy is to the top 4 1/4. Yeah. See, haven't had enough coffee yet. And then this is top 4 1/4. And just to have fun, it's red. So, and then we don't need to make another one. And then see, this is on track. Again, stay on track. So now all I got to do is hit this on center. And there's our cutout for our post to run through that guy. And then we can go ahead and duplicate this. But honestly, we're going to make one complete one. So having a duplicate, like we're not done with this yet. So having a duplicate is kind of a duplicate. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and leave that there just to see what's up. And then we'll do the final box part down here, right? Again, we don't need anything like that. Oh, you know what? Oh, this just shows me. We need to do some reference pieces to connect these two together. Either Cleco holes or rivets, just like the top, but let's do rivet holes. So, see, it's never too late. Never too late to make a mistake. So we're going to go like that. I just throw it in the center, and then I come over here and kind of pick something that looks good. I try not to get too close to the corner. You don't want to go, well, obviously here, because there's a hole there. But even here, one of the things I want to do is make these to scale. I don't know if this one is to scale, but this is your frap. And so what you want to do, what you don't want to do is get this so close. Again, I don't know if this is to scale, but this is to prove the point that, you don't want to get to where you can't get a gun in there, because they'll probably do lords and then they're going to shoot a self-tapping screw. So you can see where, let's just say it's kind of to scale. I don't know. Look, how big are these things? What do we got here? This is 5 inches wide. The grip is probably about 5 inches. Yeah. So maybe I don't know, maybe screw gun's more closer to that. That should make these to scale. But anyway, so you can see, you're bonking the engine up there, the little motor. So you don't want to have to drive it at an angle. So that's kind of where I picked that kind of idea. But you don't want to be too far over here, because then you have kind of this guy's kind of lip. So just kind of pick a happy medium where it's not quite so. That's fine, because even if this is to scale at that point, you still got room. Anyway, so that's good. So we'll go like that, and we'll just kind of mimic that. And you can tell it's kind of this far off from that nugget, and that's kind of this far off. Perfect. What do we got distance-wise is 11. Well, now this will be where that post is. See, I don't have that much room. So if I leave that rivet right there, there's no room there. So I do have to make this go on the other side of the post, like that. Yeah, I like that. That's good. So you got these. So this side, you'll have 4 over here and 4 over there. So they'll lords and shoot screws. So, and then we'll have to add that to, yeah. So that's what we're adding to this. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab that again. Oh, save. Always save. There we go. That makes sense. All right. So double check. We are at 1.5 inches. So nothing's poking over. Group. Hit bottom. And is that the right size? Yeah, this is the 5. This is the 4 1/4. Okay. So that's the bottom. And then just keeping the party going with the, we'll go ahead and group this, and then just keep this going. Make sure that goes there. And then we'll go ahead and translate these holes. But what we can do is go ahead and lay these holes out, since we have them now on the side view. So that'll help us. So I just go like this. Again, snap to is your friend. Click. Okay. So now we make the decision. Again, kind of with that same thing about the gun. You don't want to cram it too far into the corner here, so where the gun's coming in an angle, you can't get the gun in there. So we'll hit that, kind of go so kind of close here. Let's do a 1/2 inch. So I just go over here and hit my little nudge boy. Yeah, I like that. So they're really planted, that way it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, I like that. And then we can actually take this, again, on track. See, it's kind of cool. So you can just make sure all I'm doing is hitting my left nudge. And I actually kind of kept my nudges the same. So it should be, yeah. So like I said, I kind of do the nudge left and right by nudge, 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 which is good, but that does eat up, keep in mind that eats up your undos. So all of that nudge, 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 you know, it actually looks like sort of an Atari game, huh? Bloop, 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 bloop. Looks like an Atari guy. But that eats up a whole bunch of your undos. So if I need to undo now, I got to go undo, undo, undo it all the way back. So anyway, and we can go ahead and do a dupe check. Get rid of any duplicates there. We don't need you. Save. Okay, so that's going to help us with our layout later. I'll show you that. Okay, and then let's just keep going vertical. So now we're going to grab all of that again, but now we're going to this guy. But lesson learned, what is our width this time? X, 3 3/4. Okay, so we're going to go here, get rid of this and this and this. Get rid of that, get rid of that. And then we need to keep that nugget though. You'll see. And then again, these guys protrude. So we'll kind of say, mind your head. Make sure these are 1 inch tall. So we're good. And then we're going to go to the top after grouping. There you go. And then again, so we don't forget. Yep. And that's the top. And then upon further review, minus these holes here, let's just to stay organized. But honestly, the top and the bottom are the same, so you can we'll probably be able to just grab the one we make for the top, and sometimes I'll just leave those holes on both, and that way there's no way they can get it wrong, because maybe they do accidentally, I don't know, somehow put the holes for alignment end up on the bottom piece or something. But if it's no big deal and it's like there's no reason not to, I'll just put the holes in both. And that way it's absolutely impossible. Well, shouldn't say impossible, but almost impossible to get it wrong. So that way you don't have to actually differentiate. This is top, this is bottom. If there's no problem with just having holes on both sides, there you go. All right, so that's it. So we got the top, the bottom, or all the tops and the horizontal pieces this way. So let's start working verticals. Same thing. Going to come over here. Going to strip off what we don't need. Group. But now I'm going to the right? Yeah, there you go. Oops, no, got to change our size. Remember? How come you didn't tell me? We're going back to X 5 1/4. There you go. Group to the right. And then this guy is definitely not the same. We could probably use the same overall layout, but we have to make sure that we transfer these attachment rivet holes. So again, this thing has a mate, so he's going to be mated with it. So we can get rid of that. We can get rid of this because that's only the layout for that. Nuggets. These cats are gone. These cats, okay. And then again, we'll just make sure these guys don't protrude, cause any falses, and that should be 1.5 inches wide. Yep. Group. Now we're going to the left. There we go. So that's that piece. And then we'll just continue on outside of that with these homies, just keep exploding out. So let's do that. So now we have its mate, its skinny little mate here. And then, yep, we don't need these. And yeah, that's not that nugget. We don't need that nugget. So, but let's get these cats tucked in. And that should be, 625. That's what we did. Super skinny. And that's to the right. Oh, no, hold on, no. But now we're switched sizes again. Let's grab it over here. 4 1/4. And we're going to the right. There you go. So that's that little skinny guy. Oh, we have a little vertical guy here. Just a little baby vertical guy. Now we're going to strip away those nuggets. And then group. And then we're going to go to the top. Yep. Look at that little guy. Look at that little piece. All right. And then let's see. So we got that piece, and now we've got the long piece here, the main event guy that goes the whole way. And so we don't need any of this, but we do need to keep the mating holes, the matching rivet holes. We don't need the nugget. Don't need that. Oh, no. Yeah, this guy doesn't. No, that's the other guy. Right. So we get rid of all this. Right. So this has this notch. That's right. Get rid of that. We can get rid of his nugget there. And then that's all, thank you for your service. Don't need you. Don't need you. We don't need any of that. But leave that nugget. Don't erase the nugget. So you should have a nugget at each end, so to help you know. And then, because the nuggets work in conjunction with the magenta wireframe. That's what Andrew is asking. So in order to work the magenta wireframes properly, you got to know where they end. All right, so we got that vert. Now let's do this vert. And again, I like, since we're keeping, like, this will be closer. So these two guys are kind of close. And then these guys are outside that. So that's kind of how so we'll make sure that this piece is sort of outside that. So it makes visual sense. Again, because this whole thing then gets frozen in amber in a PDF, and then the guys in back use it as their working drawings. So group that. We're still at 4 1/4, right? Yep. So grab that. So it kind of makes visual sense for the guys back there. They kind of know what's up. They can kind of see, how it all goes together. I mean, by now they see the parts. They almost can see it sitting on their table. But this just kind of helps them see what's going on. And then even though this whole thing is kind of being built down here, these parts are, the long parts, these guys still hang out this way because they're on track, because they're longer this way. They have more information to match this way. So staying on track, they'll be built up here. So, but it kind of makes sense. And I'll make that inside of this guy. So it goes like, this is this box closest. And then this cat is just this little guy right here. So that makes sense. So group, but size change. So we can go grab this and we hit Y, 375. Yep. And then hit right. There you go. And then I'm going to go ahead and wait because these are identical. So I'll go ahead and just make this, and then I'm going to duplicate it and bring it over here once this is made. So I'll make sure that gets over there. Or if you want to set it as a placeholder, there's nothing wrong with that. You set it over here, but we're just going to make this and then just take it over there once it's complete. All right, so I think we're closing in on this though. So I think we're at the stage where this part's done, I think. So just double check, save. So we have this skinny guy here. We've got this little top guy there. We've got the side of this box. Again, this might help to just keep things design language there. And then we can just make these guys red just to help out, if that helps you. And I think we made that purple, right? Is that what we did? Yeah. All right. So now it's time to start filling them in with the gray, the 10% black, and that's going to be our magic machine. Oh, I forgot to tell you. So if I was going to make these the other way and not use the magic box machine, you just do the same thing where you you duplicate it, you keep it on track, you come over here and you strip out everything and you still group it, but you're just taking the X and Y and loading it into here. So you can take this, hit Y, that's the overall. And then the X would be what did you need? So you need to go load that. And then you're just making your own rectangle. And then you're bonking it to the magenta, not the nugget. Although the nugget is the same on this one. It just happens to be. And then you're just going to duplicate this, flip it, and then bonk, right? There you go. So you can see what the button does, where you just push the button and it just duplicates and does everything for you. But you can also do it that way, where you have to flesh in, this. So that's the whole point of the magenta. You asked what the magenta does. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. It's supposed to duplicate. Always duplicate. Yeah. See, and then we're on track, so I can just go grab. We can just grab those guys there. But yeah, you're asking like, what does the magentas do? So the magentas lay out that side flange, and honestly, that's like all of the information. You need all of that information. This is just how wide is it, literally, and then this is going to help you with the bend scribes. But otherwise, you got to have this, and that's what that does, is helps lay all that out. But you got to make this rectangle as well. So anyway. So you can do it that way, or you can do the magic box machine. You can see it's a lot easier. And then you're also going to see that the fill it up and this part here is really going to help. It's going to be very helpful too. Or I'll show you how to do it like an animal, where you can drag your knuckles. All right, so save. And yeah, let's just call it here for a second. I need more coffee.